I know. All right. So, Eli, you said this is your first podcast?
Yeah, I've never been on a podcast.
I'll tell you what the weirdest part is we're having a conversation right now, and then people are going to listen to it 2 weeks later, and it's going to feel like they're listening to it as we're talking to them. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
So this is the CrossFit Control podcast, and you are the manager of Ground Zero Fighting Systems in Morgantown, and it's one of our, we'd say, sister gyms. Yeah, I've been at Ground Zero. We're actually in Ground Zero right now if you're watching the video. I've been here since 2010, so 13, going on 13 years. How long have you been here?
I guess it was late 2009 I walked in and got snatched up by the boxing team and was competing in 2010.
Yeah, and I think I met you when I moved back from Charlotte, like 2017, maybe. And so took a little hiatus. Hey, you gotta keep it down while we do this. Don't do that, please. How did you get into the role that you're in now? How did you go from day one stepping in for the boxing team to becoming the head striking coach to eventually leading people in the gym? Turn that mic so it's up towards you.
Oh, up here? Yeah. Wow. So I came in to do Jiu-Jitsu. I had boxed a couple times and trained here and there in boxing over the years, but really liked Jiu-Jitsu and was working up in Morgantown and just ran into one of our members here, and Ryan. I don't know if you remember Ryan.
What was Ryan's last name?
Oh, man. That's why I just said Ryan. Awesome guy. It'll come to me later on when it's not important.
Yeah.
But he was just talking about Ground Zero. Actually, I worked with his girlfriend, and she was like, well, my boyfriend does fighting stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he said he trained at Ground Zero and invited me over. And I came in to do Jiu-Jitsu. And I had done Jiu-Jitsu at a couple other gyms, but I found out that this was definitely a legitimate gym. I think maybe Travis might have been one of the people who twisted me up.
He's probably a blue belt at that time.
Yeah. And he was, laughing maniacally as I couldn't breathe or tap or anything, but it was fun. And on my way out, the boxing coach at the time was like, hey, you doing boxing tonight? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you like boxing? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you ever boxed before? I'm like, a little bit. And I came in and started working with him, and then I was a little older already, so I already had a little bit of experience, and it wasn't long before I was one of the people helping out with class and stuff, and became pretty tight with the network of people here, and competed that August 28th of 2010 in the first exhibition that I did for Ground Zero, and that was really cool.
Is that where they got that picture that's on all over the place?
Well, actually, that's a different one. I got, that was, I think, 2 years later, maybe, 2 or 3 years later. That was a good one. That's a good knockout. But now this one, I actually had my nose busted real bad, and it bled everywhere, and I sprayed like a fountain of blood in the air and kind of stole the fight. I got knocked down real quick. I entered the fight with a broken nose. I knew it was gonna bleed a lot, and the guy touched it like right away, and I went down like in the first 30 seconds, and I was like, oh no, people came like to watch this. So it was an exciting fight. Everybody, it was a pumped up night. It was pretty cool. The same night that Eric Watkins got his nickname, the One Arm Bandit. It was pretty cool.
The One Arm Bandit?
Yep, because he finished the fight with a broken hand, broken arm. They couldn't take his glove off because his hand was swelled up in it, so they took him and got him fixed up.
How long have you been coaching?
So I started helping out then, and so I guess it would be like really quickly I came in, and I like I said, I've been training a little bit and doing a lot on my own with boxing. I didn't know we even had a boxing program here when I came. I was just coming for jiu-jitsu, so you know, we just started working together right away. That whole team was a really good.
That's what, I don't know if people realize how much we actually offer at Ground Zero, because Ground Zero has been around since 96. 96. I would have been just a 4-year-old baby at the time, so it's hard to believe. But like I said, I've been here since 2010, and just in the past, what are we coming up on, 8 months, 10 months since we started doing this? The improvements around the gym have just, I mean, we're seeing it. People are happy. But we offer a lot. We offer classes, like we offer striking and jiu-jitsu classes at the same time. We're able to offer kids programs at the same time as adult programs. So if parents want to do a class while their kids are also doing a class in separate rooms so you're not being distracted, we offer that. But this is a CrossFit podcast, so I would like to dive into how can CrossFit, or just fitness for that matter, help with grappling and striking, and how and why should people do grappling and striking?
You have to have conditioning, especially in the competitive realm. Like if you can't neglect conditioning. I've done it once or twice just to prove that it's not a good idea. But you have to be, especially in combat sports, it's combat. You are going against another human being. Is not only trying to stop you, but they're trying to, you know, aggress against you effectively. So it can be overlooked the way that that would go hand in hand with fight training. A lot of what you're doing with the training that we do is moving your own body, trying to figure out how to move your own body in order to be able to manipulate somebody else's body. And the few times I've been in the CrossFit scene and trying to do the CrossFit workouts, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a few that I come back to over and over again for conditioning that just, that's like the ultimate working out aspect of it. And then you have to have that to pair with the combat sports stuff. I mean,
it complements it.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? So like you run all the intros here, and I run all the intros at the CrossFit gym. And how many times do you get people who come in and they say, well, I got to get in shape before I start this thing? You're like, no, you don't. Just start it. And I mean, it's the same thing at CrossFit. And I thought once I opened a gym where people go to get in shape before they start something else, that wouldn't be a reason anymore. But I still hear that. I got to get in shape before I start CrossFit. I'm like, that's the whole point of joining a fitness gym is to get in shape to do the other thing. And you know, I started jiu-jitsu when I was 16 at the bullpen in Wheeling. And I mean, you know those guys. Thomas is an amazing jiu-jitsu coach, and then he created these prodigies like Hastings or Bevan and Baker. And I really think everyone should at least have a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Like everyone should know how to properly defend themselves. But a lot of people won't even step foot in a gym like this. And so how do you handle when someone's nervous about joining something like this?
Everybody is. Some people get excited, but that's anxiety too. It's an uncomfortable thing. It seems a little awkward at first, and I can't think of anything that I really liked that didn't feel that way, you know. In some aspect, even the things I feel like I'm naturally like have a tendency towards, or you might say gifted or talented in some areas, like still that's natural. That makes sense. It's good. It shows you right away before you start the gap that you probably have between people who are training and yourself, a person who is just nervous about even coming in there. So the more you close that gap, it makes a difference. But people have a tendency to think that, like, well, that's just for people who are in CrossFit's just for people who are in really good shape. already, or but it's almost kind of like saying like going out to dinner is only for people who are already full. It doesn't really make sense. I'm not sure that's a great metaphor, but
no, that's pretty good.
To me, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, and also it's like maybe you're a triathlete. CrossFit's mission statement finds whatever, you don't want to say your weaknesses, but your lesser strengths and exposes them and then builds them up. And that's what we're doing with the martial arts training. It's weird to say martial arts because as a martial arts nerd from a kid being like, oh, getting beaten up because I like Van Damme movies too much or something. Yeah. But it's like, it's not like a taboo at this point. I mean, I know that there are some martial arts that are a little less respected than others, but what we're doing is martial arts, but it's boxing, it's wrestling, it's jiu-jitsu, it's kickboxing.
It's the stuff real. That works.
Yeah, it's what's been tested.
I don't want to say the other stuff doesn't work, but like you said, I mean, there's a reason that the best MMA fighters, where we take all of these modalities and put them together, the best fighters are grappling, and they're wrestlers with jiu-jitsu and boxing or kickboxing.
Yeah. But you don't have to be in shape to start it. And even if you, like I was saying there with the CrossFit, it's the same kind of deal. You could be a triathlete, and then, okay, let's have you wrestle Czar for 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what's interesting to me because, like, I mean, we have people who, I have a guy who hikes 10 miles, and then you throw them into a 10-minute workout, and they're exhausted. And same thing in here. You know, grappling cardio is totally different than CrossFit cardio or running cardio or striking cardio. It's
striking cardio,
yeah. Because I'm sure you've had days before where you probably rolled for an hour, and like I remember I rolled with a guy one time. I was doing privates with the guy. He was like a 2 or 3 stripe white belt. I didn't sweat, and we rolled for 40 minutes straight. Yeah. And it just, I try to tell people, it's like having cheat codes for life. And I really think everyone should at least try jiu-jitsu, but they should stick it out for 2 years and at least earn their blue belt so that way they can protect their family. Or you'd like to believe that we don't live in that kind of world, but we do live in a world where that stuff does still happen. Yeah. And I would rather rely on myself to keep my family safe than calling someone who might be 10 minutes away to come and help me keep my family safe.
True. Or having a false sense of my abilities to be like, well, I know that in my mind there's some red button that I'll just hit and everything will switch on, and then I'll just wake up and everything will be taken care of and sorted out, but this isn't like that. What's
the saying? We fall to the level of our experience. Is that the saying?
Something like that.
How's it go?
Yeah.
But it is true. Like everyone thinks like, oh, my adrenaline would kick in and I would be able to get out of it. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. And as someone who has done this for almost half my life, I used to tell people all the time when Jeb was a little guy, like, there's a little 150-pound dude in Bridgeport who could whip my ass anytime he wants. Yeah. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes when I was like 240 pounds at the time.
Yeah,
but, I mean, that's why everyone should do this. I think it also makes you more humble and easier to handle situations in life, too.
It does. It does. There's something to the exercise as in, like, cardio, fitness, exercise. And then also the exorcism of negative things in your life, in your brain. And there's something about that brings you a little bit of peace. It makes sense. The old traditional like martial arts, the movies and stuff where these guys are trying to find that. That's fun and everything, but you're a nicer person. You're a little bit cooler, and you also, when maybe an aggressive fella wants to bump you in the shoulder in Walmart, you're kind of let it go, like it's okay. You have more security, you're less insecure, and that goes a long way. But one of the biggest fears that you may encounter in your life is that somebody perhaps is not doing anything to you, and this, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get attacked. I hope not. But I hate the feeling of helplessness. I would like to know that I would be taking steps forward if there was a terrible situation like that, instead of cowering or, just at least they're getting them and not me type of deal. So I definitely think it makes a better overall person. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it would accentuate your negative thoughts, but I don't find that's a commonality with everybody who does it.
What all programs do we offer here?
Generally, we do boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. Kickboxing is a really broad term. It's kind of like boxing, but kickboxing we take from a few different classic disciplines. The Dutch style kickboxing is more like good Western boxing and hard Thai kicks, and the mix of the Thai stuff in there too. But as it plays out towards kickboxing matches and MMA matches, that's where we do that.
And what about kids programs?
Kids programs, we have little kids jiu-jitsu for ages 4 to 6, and that takes place at the same time as our big kids, like the 6 to 12 age range. They have a kickboxing class and a jiu-jitsu class. And then our teens, we have a couple of classes a week for them specifically to do jiu-jitsu as well. But they're welcome to work in with the adults for the striking stuff.
Okay.
It usually fits well.
And the kids programs are offered at the same time as the adult striking, right?
Yeah, so the kids striking programs, the big kids striking and the little kids jiu-jitsu, they run at the same time, 4:30 on Mondays and Wednesdays. And that's like the first thing of the night that night. But then at 5:30, we do the big kids jiu-jitsu, and then the adults are out boxing in the front room during that time. So.
Okay. If someone was interested in starting jiu-jitsu or striking, and this was their sign to get off their butt, how do they reach out to you?
You can call me. You can call 304-282-8936. You can text. You can come in. You can email if you want. teamgzfs.com is our website. There's a few different ways to get in contact with us, but just come in if you want.
Yeah, because we offer a week trial. Is that what?
Yeah. I want people to get comfortable with it. Maybe you really like it, but the times don't work or your schedule is crazy right now. But I want you to see that it kind of speaks for itself. We have great people right now. It's a really, the vibes in the gym and the people and the atmosphere, and it's really magical right now.
Yeah.
And if you come in and see that, you probably want to check it out.
It's pretty cool to see. I was explaining to someone the other day, like the level of detail that Colin puts into stuff. Like I was trying to explain to someone, he knows the American and Japanese names for everything.
Yeah.
And I come from like the old school shit where we just, it's a cowboy, it's a head and arm. But Colin knows the actual proper names for where it originated.
Right.
And you don't find that very often. Like you just I mean, I'm a brown belt. I've been doing this for 14 years, and I don't, and it's just
the why things work, or why people, the level of detail that the level that he understands things. It's odd. There will be a day where it's.
Well, you can see it with his people. Like look at how far Lee has progressed in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's showing that having that level of knowledge and that ability to learn from someone like that really does pay off.
It makes a huge difference.
And
it's a crazy thing that in Morgantown, West Virginia at 11 a.m. Monday through Thursday, you can come in to this spot and have Colin Caprini show you why jiu-jitsu works, it almost doesn't make sense. It's like, what's that? Why? How's that here?
Right.
It's here. It's like that every night. Clint is no slouch.
I mean, we have our gym has the most black belts in the state, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, I have to head out, but I appreciate you doing this with me.
Thanks.
And hopefully we get some people to reach out to you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We'll be here.